Go time.
Hallo, willkommen zum Podcast vom Philipp.
Sorry, ist ja auch schon ein Penner, gell?
Oh.
I wanted to join Lerman.
Welcome to episode 3 of the Fluent Future podcast, where we talk about experiences with different countries, cultures, and languages of the world. Here today I have my friend Liam. Hi.
Hi.
Good to have you here.
Thank you for having me today.
So tell us a bit about yourself.
Well, first of all, my name is Liam. I'm 22 years old. Basically, I've lived most of my time in Austria, but also have spent significant time in South Africa. I think we're going to be talking about this today. And yeah, I'm really, really happy to be here.
You mentioned already we're going to talk about South Africa, which to me is quite interesting because it's not so common in Austria to have people with family in South Africa. So tell us a bit about your family.
All right. So my mom's from Cape Town, South Africa, and she's lived here for around 23 years now. She's also fluent in German, but most of my mother's side lives in Cape Town. I visit them regularly, and yeah, it's just great to have them on this side of the world.
Cool. Why did your mom come to Austria?
For my dad, actually, so
Okay.
It was an act of love.
Okay.
They met each other in Cape Town, and then she moved with him around, I think, 3 years after they met each other first. They moved to Austria, and from then my mom has stayed ever since.
Okay, cool. So she moved together with your dad to Austria.
Yeah.
And why was your dad in South Africa?
He loves traveling, so
Okay.
he's been all around everywhere in the world. And he really liked Cape Town, and he actually just met her by chance in a restaurant.
Cool.
I think, if I'm not mistaken, she was his waitress.
No way.
And he fell in love with her. I don't know how true the story
Crazy.
is. But yeah, so they met each other in Cape Town, and then I think she visited Austria a couple of times. And yeah, then she finally moved here.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Okay, and your mom then found a job in Austria?
Yeah.
Started
yeah.
working here?
So she started working as a Dolmetscher. First, she learned German quite quickly. And then she was able to do Dolmetsching, and she also worked in Austrian prisons to help inmates that are not from Austria to get certain education classes
Wow.
for different for English and German. And she started out as this, and then she moved from there,
Cool.
doing different kind of things.
Crazy. So you mentioned that she learned German quite quickly. Did she learn German already back in Cape Town?
No.
Okay,
She
so she
only-
started from zero?
Yeah, she started from zero. I mean, in South Africa, you have the language called Afrikaans. It's a mix of English, Dutch, and German.
Mm-hmm.
So the grammar and some vocabulary is similar. So I think she might have a head start for someone that doesn't have learn Afrikaans. But I would still say she learned from zero.
Mm-hmm. Crazy. Do you know Afrikaans?
No, I
No?
can't speak
Okay,
Afrikaans.
Okay.
I mean, it's an easy language. I'm sure if we would
Yeah.
try, we would learn it quick.
Wow. Yeah.
There is, as I said, a lot of vocab that is very similar to German, and it sounds quite funny as well. But I can't speak it.
Mm-hmm.
I can understand a little bit, but I wouldn't even call it that. So.
Okay. So I'm curious now, when you grew up with your mom and dad in Austria, at that point, did your mom already speak German?
Well, the first years I can't remember.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. But I always remember talking to my mom in English and with my dad in German. But as long as I know, my mom was also fluent in German.
Mm-hmm.
So, as I said, I think she learned it quite quickly. I mean, she also didn't really have a choice. Especially Austria then was also a bit more difficult to come around in English than it is today. So I'd say she learned it quite quickly. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and you still speak English with your mom, right?
I do.
Okay.
We switch every now and then, also depending on who's with us.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll talk German, and then the next sentence we'll switch to English, or we'll actually in the same sentence switch to German and English language in between. But I would say English is definitely her choice of language.
So you grew up basically with two languages, I
Yes.
guess. So
Yes.
okay, that's great. Yeah, I think that's really cool having families that teach their kids two languages from the moment they grow up. So I think that's very helpful. And
I
then you already had a head start, I guess, when you started learning English in school.
Yeah, 100%.
When was that in your case?
So oh my god, I can't remember if I had English in primary school.
Yeah, I did too, but it was just a little bit.
Yeah, just like
Yeah.
a normal side subject.
Yeah.
And then so I started with primary school, and then also in high school I had English as a main subject, and of course I had a head start in it. I mean,
Mhm.
English is also not the most difficult language as well, so it was never a problem for me.
Mhm. Mhm. How was it growing up? Because you knew, I guess, half of your family is
Mhm.
in South Africa, quite
Mhm.
far away. Did you visit them often?
I did. So I think my first flight I ever did, I was 2 months old.
What?
And ever since, we tried to visit every year for at least 3 to 4 weeks. During Corona, it was a bit difficult seeing family. But I tried to spend a lot of time there. Actually, in 2014 to 2015, we lived in South Africa for 1 year with my mom. And it was a great experience. I'm really blessed to have this experience. It was really life-changing for me. It gave me a lot of growth. And yeah, it's not easy to maintain contact, but at the same time we also know, okay, we're like 9,000 kilometers away from each other, but every time I see my family, it's like I never left.
Mhm,
So it's
mhm.
like
Yeah,
the
that's-
bond doesn't go away or anything.
Yeah, that's great. And what is it like? I've never been to South Africa, so I have no idea. I just know that when you travel to certain countries in Africa, you need
Mhm.
a vaccine or you need some other types of
Yeah,
shots.
yeah. So it's the most southern country in South Africa, in Africa. And I think vaccine-wise, it's not an issue.
Mhm.
I mean, it really depends what you're planning to do. If you want to go on a safari, you should definitely take precautions. But if you're planning to go to a city trip or maybe just a road trip, I think you should be fine.
Mhm, mhm.
It is more of an issue if you go to Central Africa,
Yeah, yeah.
where you should definitely check out what you need first. But I don't think I have any special vaccines or anything.
Mhm.
I had for Malaysia, as you know.
Right.
That's another story.
Mhm. Story for another time.
Different story.
All right. So the times you've traveled to South Africa to visit your family, you basically just booked the flights, or
Yes.
I guess since you remember. at
Um,
least.
yeah, so it's a bit difficult. South Africa, I mean, you'll know it's not the safest country out there. And there's been a lot of times where my brother and my brother is now 16 years old. So there's a 6-year difference between us, where we would fly on our own without our parents to visit our family. And there it was much more complicated than just booking your flights. So you have to go to a notary and get really complicated documents worked out, because there's a lot of child trafficking also in South Africa. So when we were flying by ourselves without our parents, it was much more difficult. But if you do the paperwork, it was still possible, of
Mhm.
course.
Mm-hmm. I see. Do you need a visa for traveling?
No, you don't. So there you can have a normal tourist visa. It's 90 days. And you can enter South Africa without any issues.
Mhm.
You can leave it as well without
Cool.
any issues.
Cool.
So the bond between Austria and South Africa is quite good.
Mm-hmm. Lucky.
Yeah, thank God.
Because
I mean,
otherwise...
yeah, we do have a South African passport as well.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to ask as well. So you have the Austrian
do
and
have
South
both.
African
Yeah.
citizenship, I guess.
I do have both,
Mm-hmm.
which also makes it easier in the case I want to work there. Of course, getting a work visa is much more difficult
Mm-hmm.
for us Europeans. It's near impossible, actually. So that is also a great help when it comes to finding jobs.
And growing up, so you mentioned that you went to visit your family there like once a year.
We tried to.
Mm-hmm.
It was not always possible, but
Yeah.
that was the goal.
And always for like 3 to 4 weeks. Or something
Yes,
like
I would always say a minimum of 3 weeks.
that. Mhm.
There's also been years where our family would visit us, or some of them. So actually in mid-December, there's like 10 people arriving here in Graz
Cool.
from
nice.
Cape Town to visit us. I'm really, really happy to see them again. But yeah, it's always like a back and forth. Okay,
Mhm,
we go
mhm.
there or we meet each other there.
And when you go there, I guess when you're with your brother, it's easier to crash at someone's place, to stay at your
Mhm.
mom's place, for example. Or
Mhm.
where do you usually live?
I always switch around. So my mom's family is quite big. She has 5 siblings. So I also have like, I think, I would have to count, but I would say more than 10 cousins. So we would just switch up wherever we feel like going to. So we would spend like 5 days there, 2 days there, 3 days there, go to a trip with him, go to a trip with her, come back there. It will always be just
Mhm.
like couch surfing in a
Cool,
way.
cool. What are some other, I guess, typical things you're used to doing when you're in South Africa?
Surfing. Definitely.
Cool.
You can surf a lot in Cape Town. You can also surf all along the coast in South Africa. It's actually really famous.
I didn't know you could surf.
I am not good at it, but
Okay.
I can surf a little bit.
Okay.
Surfing is definitely a thing. You can always, there's beautiful road trips. There's beautiful, also last year when I was there, now I'm old enough, I can go to festivals and stuff. Great music. The nature is incredible. Really stunning. The views, Table Mountain, it's really awesome. I would definitely recommend it to anybody.
As a child, did you notice a big difference between Austria and South Africa?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
100%. It is completely different. I mean, South Africa has a deep, deep history of colonization, and you can still feel it today. So there is a lot of poverty, unfortunately, and to a certain extent, there's also some separation still. I mean, my mom still grew up in apartheid. It's basically it's a separation of races, if you want to call that. So if you were black or white, you were separated. You had different seats in the bus, different areas in town where you could live or where you were allowed to work at. So my mom actually still grew up in that time. I think it was only abolished in 1990, so a bit more than 30 years back. It's a really new country in a way. The Republic of South Africa in that sense, in that modern sense, is fairly new. And you can still definitely see the aftermath of all the terrible things that happen. But the people are so friendly anyway, you know. That's actually the thing I love most about South Africans, is that they still put on a smile and they still try to be happy and just take the situation that it is and make the best out of it. I think Austria could definitely learn a lot from them when it comes to that.
Do you still feel this difference, or like this history, I guess?
You definitely do.
Yeah.
You definitely do. If you go around town, you'll also see, I mean, South Africa has the highest rate when it comes to the difference between rich and poor. So you will have ultra, I mean, I'm not, was heißt,
exaggerating?
I'm not exaggerating, thank you. You'll have ultra rich areas with 5-story houses for 5 people probably, and you drive like 20 minutes and you have shelters where there's like 10 people on like 10 square meters.
Yeah.
So it's like really, it's insane. It's just insane to see.
Yeah.
So you can definitely still see it. There is still a lot of injustice going on, but as I said, it's a new country, so it will take a while, I guess.
You said earlier also that there are some safety issues, I guess, sometimes, or crime rate, from what I've heard, is high there.
It is, yeah.
Is that noticeable as well?
Funnily enough, it really depends on how you behave. So, I mean, for me, I've always been aware of what's going on. And also my family told me that, okay, there are certain rules you need to follow. Okay, you don't go out at night. You don't go by yourself. You don't leave your phone on the seat in the car. It will be gone. And these things do happen. So if you follow a set of rules, you will not encounter any of it. But if you do not follow them, there is a high risk of something happening. So for everyone going there, it would definitely be advisable to just read a lot and know your environment.
Yeah, do some research.
Definitely, yeah.
So now I'm getting curious, because when you grew up, when you were more, I guess, dependent on your parents and your family there, these rules, or all these rules, apply to you. But for example, going out at night or going out by yourself, how was that when you go there, for example, now in recent times?
I never went by myself.
Oh yeah, really?
So as a man, it's a bit easier, of course. And unfortunately, there's high rape crimes in South Africa. But I actually always went with friends or family. So I never went somewhere by myself. And if I did go somewhere, I used an Uber or went there by car. So there's not really trustworthy infrastructure, like Öffis here in Graz, that you can go and feel safe. So it is definitely a different life, and you're very dependent on cars.
Yeah. Growing up with all these frequent trips to South Africa, was that a struggle for you, or did you perceive any struggles in that sense?
I always loved going there, but of course mixed emotions when having to leave again. So the only struggle was that most of the time in the year I can't see my family, but every time I'm there, I was super happy.
Okay,
There was
okay,
nothing
okay, okay.
ever
Mhm.
to complain about. So the only issue was actually that most of the time, or 90% of the time, I'm not with my family.
Mhm.
But besides that, actually, there were no issues.
Okay, so you were always looking forward to these
Yeah,
trips?
yeah, definitely. There was not a single time where I wasn't. When I was a kid, I actually had like a calendar, and I would like strike out the days. Like, okay, only 5 more days till we go.
Nice.
So it was really nice. I
Cool.
really enjoyed it.
Cool.
Yeah, you should check it out sometime.
Yeah,
Definitely.
I have to actually, yeah. But besides all these trips you took or you did there when you were a child and also growing up, there was also another trip you did to South Africa,
Yes.
and you even stayed there. I mean, actually, let's go back first to the 1 year where you lived there for a year.
Yeah,
you
we
mentioned
can, we can.
2014, 15?
Yes.
What was the reason for that?
So my mom, it was a dream of hers to always just check out life with her kids in Cape Town. So we said, okay, let's give it a go. And by the time my parents were already divorced. And then we tried it out. I went to a really awesome school. Funnily enough, it was a German school. So there is a lot of German-speaking folks, a lot of Dutch-speaking folks. South Africa has like 11 different official languages.
Wow.
So it's really multiculti.
Mm-hmm.
And I went to a German school for 1 year. Great experience. Awesome people. People from all around the world. They came there. Also a lot of local people. So it was really a brilliant mix. I actually had Afrikaans as a subject. I
Really?
remember, yeah. But I always fell asleep. Don't do that. So that experience was amazing. And in the beginning, it was a bit more difficult for me because, I mean, if you take today, I went here reading my book in the bus and that's it, and stuff like that. This freedom you don't have there. So in the beginning, it was quite difficult for me to adjust. But the more time went by, actually I got used to it and I enjoyed it. So
Mhm.
I was really, really close to saying like, okay, I would actually like to stay here.
Wow.
But then we actually decided to go back because, as I said, those freedoms that you have in Austria, it's a privilege you only understand if you don't have them.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that was actually the reason for us why we got back. But still, I would rate this experience a 10 out of 10
Mhm,
because
mhm.
it gave me a lot of growth
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
I'm very grateful for.
So you said it was 2014, 2015. So it was in middle school for you, I guess.
Yeah.
Was that easy for you, for your school here, to just say, okay, I'm going to leave for a year and come back?
Funny story. So I first went to Kiringasse.
Mm-hmm.
For them, it was not an issue, me leaving. The only issue they had is when I came back, they wouldn't take me again.
Oh, not at all?
Not at all.
Oh.
So that is because our system in Austria starts, our semesters start in September till June, right? In Cape Town, it works the way it starts in January and ends in December.
Mm-hmm.
So what happened is when I moved to SA, I actually went in the same grade again that I had actually completed because I went there in August.
Mm-hmm.
So I just finished my grade here, but then had to repeat till December the same grade I've
Okay.
already done in Austria.
Mm-hmm.
And then I had half a grade back to August again.
Mm-hmm.
And then I wanted to join my old school again here in Austria for the new semester. And he said, no, you haven't completed your grade.
Yeah.
You cannot join.
Mm-hmm.
So that was quite difficult for me. I'm thinking like, wow, okay, I'm screwed.
Mm.
But then the director of Canerigasse was so kind enough and just gave me a chance.
Mm.
So I went there directly. I had 1 or 2 friends there. And I'm actually really happy about this happening because I met awesome people there that I'm also super grateful for. And yeah, I went into that grade without completing the other, and thank God I had no issues.
Mhm,
So
mhm.
I mean, my grades were never the best, so, but they were also never terrible. So
Yeah.
I was always in the average.
Yeah, crazy that it works out that way, I think. Because you were, how old were you at that time? 13? 14?
13 to 14, I
Yeah,
think.
around that age.
Around
So it
that
was
age,
like
yeah.
3rd grade, middle school, I guess. So you had 1 last year of middle school to complete in Austria?
Yes, I finished the 3rd grade, did the 4th grade in South Africa,
Mm-hmm.
and then joined, back in Austria for the 5th grade.
Okay, so basically high school.
High school,
Then, mhm,
yeah.
okay. I see now. Hmm.
Mhm.
So at your first school, that's a school where you could have stayed for middle school and high school.
Yeah.
Okay. And since they told you, okay, it doesn't work since you didn't complete the second half of this year.
I went to high school to another school.
Right. Okay. And they gave you the chance. They said, you know what?
Yeah.
Let's try it.
They
okay.
said,
Cool.
try it out, and thank God it worked out.
Yeah. Awesome. Cool. And what were the biggest differences you perceived in the school system there?
Well, I can't say much about that because the school I went to, as I said, was a German school, and it worked after the German curriculum.
Mm-hmm.
So it was very similar to the German. It was actually the German curriculum of Baden-Württemberg. So I can't really say about the school systems that other schools perceive or receive. I had the German curriculum, so it was quite similar. Actually.
Okay, so there weren't like that many big differences.
No, I wouldn't say so.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, slight differences when it comes to grading. So like instead of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you would get 100% to a 0%.
Okay.
For instance.
Mhm.
But it's just like minor
Yeah.
things.
Yeah, I see. And concerning your classmates at that time,
Mhm.
were those people who grew up in South Africa and who had like German families? Or?
Very mixed. So a lot of them were growing up in Cape Town, who had German families and who've lived there their entire lives. Some of them actually moved there recently from other countries with German parents that had work in Cape Town and put their kids in school for like 1 year or 1 semester even. So some people just came and went again. So it was always quite a mix. And then there were some people that wanted to learn German, and that's why they went to the German school.
Mhm. So as a second language in a way.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Great. Okay, and now let's skip to the part which I intended to talk about first.
Yeah.
So after graduating from high school, what did you do? Tell us a bit about your path.
Well, first, after finishing high school, I met you actually.
Yeah.
We had Zivildienst together. Awesome experience as well. Really enjoyed that. Actually, before I went to do that, I did Interrail with 2 friends of mine through Europe, which was also really great for 1 month. We went to Germany, France, Netherlands, Spain, and then through Zurich we came back. So on the west side of Europe. And then we had Zivildienst in Leoben and Mautern. Awesome memories there. And then we started studying together.
Mhm. What did you study?
I did international management at the Fachhochschule Ioneum in Graz.
Mhm.
Also challenging, very challenging, but great experience overall. Just finished recently, like 2 months ago. Super happy. Amazing school,
Yeah.
but I'm just happy to be done. During that time in the FR, as you know, we had like a internship opportunity, and I decided to do my internship in Cape Town since I saw it as a perfect thing to do, visiting family during my study time. So I went there last year for exactly 90 days, actually.
Oh yeah, okay. To make use of this, I guess, visa thing in a way.
Yeah, I used my Austrian passport
Mhm.
because the South African passport expired recently,
Oh,
so
okay.
I have to remake it. And that's why I used the Austrian one.
But wasn't that an issue in terms of work?
Yes, the thing is, I'm still a South African citizen,
Okay.
which makes it a bit easier.
Mhm.
But I just used the Austrian passport as a travel
Okay. Mhm.
as a passport.
So the only thing that really changed for you was the limited amount of time
Yeah.
in these 90
Yeah.
days. Okay, I
Yeah.
see. Right, as you mentioned, we studied international management, where we had to do first an exchange semester and then an internship.
Yeah.
Talk us a bit through the planning process of your internship. Because I
Yeah,
remember
sure.
you were, I think you had some alternatives, or you were considering.
So I always wanted to do it somewhere else than in Austria, but I actually quite quickly knew I wanted to do it in Cape Town. And how I did that is I inquired at my school if that is possible, and they said, of course, if I find somebody that employs me, I can do it. And then I also found out that I can get
Like a funding.
funding
yeah.
from Erasmus
Mhm.
Plus.
Oh, even from Erasmus.
Yeah,
Wow.
which was awesome. Helped me a lot. And I applied that through my institution and also through my employer in Cape Town. To find the employer was, thank God, quite easy for me because of my family helped me out when finding a contact there. So I ended up working there, and it was also a great experience. I had a sales position and also a bit of customer relationship management. and it was just awesome. The work environment there is insane, really awesome to work with people. It's quite different actually than in Austria. People are a bit more relaxed. Coming too late is not as big as an issue here, for instance, and you can definitely see that there's just a complete different work culture. But I enjoyed seeing that. It was a great experience, and yeah, I'll definitely think about working there again in the future for unknown amount of time if the opportunity comes up.
Cool.
But yeah, it was great.
So how that started was basically you were in touch with your family,
Yeah,
and you asked, okay, is there anyone who knows someone who
Somebody-
knows someone
yeah, exactly.
who can get me a job,
Yeah,
basically? Okay.
Yeah. And for them, it was also it was possible for me since I'm a South African citizen.
Right.
I actually had contact with another student from our institution like a month ago who inquired whether she could do an internship in Cape Town as an Austrian citizen, and I said you can try, but it is very difficult to get a work visa, unfortunately. So yeah, this opportunity was possible because I have the dual citizenship.
Yeah. And at said workplace, I guess you spoke English.
Yes,
Okay.
just English.
And all your colleagues as well.
Yeah, everybody spoke English, although there were some Afrikaans clients. And funnily enough, there was also a German client, I remember. So whenever this German client would walk in, I would handle him, which was also a great experience. But in the workplace, it was mainly English and sometimes Afrikaans when it comes to Afrikaans clients.
Nice. And you mentioned a bit the, I guess, cultural differences in terms of working culture. Would you say you noticed a difference as well, I guess, in productivity or things like that?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, 100%. So the European standard when it comes to productivity is on a high level. But I would say the productivity levels in Austria are definitely higher than in Cape Town or in South Africa.
Yeah. I guess that was noticeable in, for example, the aspect where you said, okay, you can come late.
Exactly.
It doesn't matter
exactly.
too much.
So there's always a plus and there's always a good and bad side to things.
Yeah.
As I said, it's just a complete different work culture.
Yeah. But in terms of the working hours, was it the same?
Yeah.
Okay. So
There
you
was
worked
part-time and full-time.
Okay.
And also people that just went in for 10 to 15 hours a week. So when it comes to time, it was roughly the same as here.
And you worked full time?
I work full-time, yeah.
Yeah. Cool. And at that time, knowing that you were going there again for a longer period of time, I guess, or longer than you're used to in those frequent trips.
Yeah.
What was the mindset like? Were you again looking forward to it?
100%.
Yeah.
So it was actually the first time for me since Corona. So I was super excited to be back down there and spend time with my family and friends. I still have some friends there from school, which I also met when skateboarding and surfing, which was really really awesome. But yeah, there was, as I said, not a single time where I didn't look forward to going there.
Okay. And at that time, or I guess it would be interesting to hear from you if you could compare your daily routine between, for example, when you went to school there or when you visit your family and to when you were working there. You can start with whichever you want.
Yeah, I need to think. So, do you want me to compare it to Austria or
No,
both
between
experiences there?
Yeah.
Okay. So I will start with my first experience I made when I went to school. Of course, waking up early instead of and then driving to school.
And you were driven there.
I was driven there. Yeah, there was no possibility for me to go anywhere else or get there anyhow else. So I was driven to school, finished school, got picked up, spent some time either at my mom's work or with my family, depending on who picked me up. So it was either my parents or it was my auntie or my uncle or my cousin. I spent time with them and then went back home. And when I worked, it was actually quite the same, I would say. Drive there, do your stuff, drive to somebody else, and then it was quite similar. Just in the one case, I went to school. And
I see. So also when you were working, you went there with someone else who took you? Okay.
Yeah, and I didn't have my own car. So I either went there, I could find someone that could pick me up, or I used an Uber.
Okay,
Yeah.
and that was safe?
That was safe.
Okay.
But as I said, always you have to be careful of your surroundings. But Uber is generally safe.
Okay. Interesting. Yeah. The things you have to take care of in different cultures.
Yeah. As I said, it's a thing we don't think about in our daily
Yeah.
lives. It's just something you notice when you're somewhere else.
Yeah. Yeah. We're very privileged.
Oh, 100%.
In these terms. Okay, and you mentioned that you're still in touch with some friends you made at school.
Yeah.
In that 1 year.
Yeah.
And those people still live in South Africa.
Some of them do.
Mhm.
Some of them live in Cape Town. A lot of them actually moved to Germany.
Mm.
So some of them are in Munich, some are in Berlin or in Cologne. Really mixed up because they all came from different places. But some of them, a few of them are still in Cape Town.
Cool. So in your free time, when you were working there, what did you do besides surfing and skateboarding?
I went a lot to town. I went to go see things. The town is beautiful. Otherwise, I actually just spent time with my family wherever I couldn't point out something special, I guess.
Are there parts of the city that are like where those are like more dangerous?
Yeah.
Okay.
You don't go there unless you know what you're doing.
Okay. So you always went there with your family, or
Yeah.
after? I guess. Did you also go there with friends?
To those parts of town?
No, I guess just to the city. Like with your
Yes, I
friends.
did.
Okay.
I did. Yeah.
So that's not unsafe to do.
Well, the thing is also during the day, of course,
Mhm.
it's safer. During night, you should just be more careful. But in town, generally, you are okay. It really just depends, like time of day, and you'll notice when you're there.
So when it comes to, for example, going out at night,
Mm-hmm.
partying or stuff like that,
Mm-hmm.
how was that?
It was amazing. It was a great experience.
But was that then safe, or was
That is the thing. So you have a higher grade of responsibility when going out than you do here. You don't get as trashed there as you do here, and that is just simply because you want to stay safe. And I used to go out a lot with my cousin last year, and of course we also said, okay, if you get lost, we made our plans on how we got back to each other. But generally we always try to stay close to each other where we could see each other. But the scene is actually, the cultural scene there is incredible to go out. You have beautiful bars, amazing clubs, all different kinds of music. Really, it's a birthplace of insane music compilations, and people are going absolutely nuts there. It's an amazing experience. But of course, you still have to be more careful than you are here.
So when it comes to, I guess, meeting people, making new friends, how was that for you? Because I mean, you've known some people since childhood, and also because of your year that you spent in school there. But do you have any recommendations, or I guess, what is it like to meet new people there?
It's fairly easy to meet new people there. Yeah. So my advice would definitely be open, trust your gut, but also, of course, be responsible. You can definitely meet people really quickly there, and most of them will give you a really nice impression. As I said, the people are really, really nice. But then again, you should always just keep in the back of your head to be aware of what's going on and look at your surroundings. But meeting new people there is definitely easier than it is here, I would say.
Does that happen usually, like, I don't know, when you're in a group and you go out doing activities, for example, skateboarding or surfing, and a friend brings a friend, and is that usually how you meet people, or when you're out in the city and so you talk to random people as well? Or?
So when I went surfing with a colleague of mine that I knew from school, he just brought another friend along, and that's how I also met a few people, or met people through my cousin that I went out with, and we would meet each other at the party or at a club somewhere. But also just random people. Also, when you go out, most of the people that you go to this club to or this bar to will have the same mindset as you, or on the same wavelength. So it is easier to get into a conversation. So yeah, it was actually, it's quite easy.
Was it ever an issue, or did you think people realized quickly that you were not South African, or that you're
No.
not spending your whole life there?
No.
No?
Actually, no. They actually always thought I was local.
Oh yeah.
Because my accent, as soon as I'm there, my accent changes, and I start speaking like they do. So actually, most of the time, the people thought I was local,
Okay.
which was always funny because I always said, no, I'm actually not. But yeah, I think the South African English is the greatest. I'm
Could
a bit
you-
biased.
Could you compare it to a dialect that's more common or more known, I guess? Is it similar to British
No,
English?
not at all. Not at
Okay.
all. I mean, it really depends on who you talk to again.
Yeah.
You'll get a lot of English people. But I would say the South African accent is completely different. I think it's quite funny also in a way. I can't bring it up now. I have to talk to somebody that speaks it to be in that same thing again.
Yeah.
I can't compare it. It's its own thing.
Interesting. But it's cool also that you, I guess, adapt quickly when you go there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm used to it a bit, so it makes it a bit easier for me. But yeah, I wanted to go back quickly just to that meeting people there. It's also so in South Africa, it's easy to meet people, but on a shallow level. So, and in Austria, it's very difficult to meet people, but it's when you meet people, you often more have like a deeper bond. And in South Africa, it's more of a more shallow
Yeah.
perspective. Of course, if you see someone regularly, you'll have no issue. But I just wanted to add that on.
Yeah, I guess that's what we learned also in at university in these
In
differences of
cross-cultural.
the differences in cultures between these peach cultures, as for example you mentioned
Yeah,
now South
exactly.
Africa, and Austria, I guess, being more of a coconut culture.
Yeah.
More difficult to get in, but then soft inside. I guess.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And if I look at South Africa and the culture there and here, it's actually exactly that what you said. You have the peach and coconut. Perfectly.
Interesting. So interesting to hear someone who can actually, I guess, confirm that in a way.
Yeah, no, it definitely is.
Yeah. Cool.
You could definitely see it there.
Are the differences in cultures? Are there any other differences in cultures that you could mention or that come up when you think about this?
Oh, it's so difficult to say.
Because I mean, I guess the differences in the people are the things that come up quickly. I guess, like you mentioned, for example, you meet people who are, I guess, more shallow, or at the beginning. I guess it's kind of similar to U.S. American culture.
Yeah.
People seem
That's
very
actually
open-minded.
Yeah.
But it's kind of difficult to make good friends.
It's a good comparison.
But I guess after you've been there many times, you have some good friends there.
I do.
Or at least your family as well.
Yeah, 100%. Let me think about different. No, I mean it is still. It's difficult to say because yes, there are some things different, but I wouldn't call it really like significant. Or I couldn't categorize it.
Yeah.
You know.
I see. One other thing I like talking about with these with countries that are very different to Austria. What is the food culture like there?
Completely mixed. You'll find everything your heart desires, everything everywhere. I couldn't pin down a single food you will only find there because, as I said, it's been colonized by so many different countries. You have so much influence from different countries. There's Australian people, you'll find Indian people, you'll find Indonesian people, or Malay people. You will find Austrian or German-speaking people. You'll find English people. You'll find Dutch people. You will find all different kinds of sort of people, and it's just one pot of one mixed culture. And so you will find every food you will ever want to eat, depending on what street you're in.
Okay, interesting. There's no such thing that you can say, okay, in South Africa you eat more meat, or there's more, that food tends to be spicier or something like that.
I would say food tends to be more spicier.
Okay.
But then again, since my family is Indian, it's in my family that we eat more spicy.
Oh, you have Indian roots.
Yes, my mom is Indian, or my granddad came from India to Cape Town.
Okay. See, I didn't know that. Okay, so they came from India to Cape Town.
Yeah,
But your mom was born in Cape
in
Town.
Cape Town.
So she has, I guess, Indian genes. Indian
Yeah, she
roots.
is.
Okay, but born in Cape Town, and I see. And you mentioned earlier when you talked about what you did, what your daily routine was like at school. You said sometimes you were picked up and you went to her workplace. Did she or does she still work as a waitress, or is that a different?
Oh, no.
workplace?
So she actually, when she lived with us in Cape Town, she started a branding agency for 1 year, where she would work in town, and she had an office with her then boyfriend there, and a few other people, and I used to just spend some time there in the office before we went home. But no, she does not waitress anymore.
Did you ever make any cool trips to, I guess, other places outside of South Africa that are nearby, or did you only stay in South Africa?
In Africa or in the southern part of Africa, I've only stayed in South Africa. Yeah, I've always wanted to go to Namibia. I've always wanted to go to Mozambique. I've always wanted to go to Mauritius. Hopefully, I'll do that soon. But I've never managed to.
Okay.
Yeah, just inland.
Okay. Was there any reason for that, or did it just not work out?
Just not.
Okay.
Just
So it's
never.
still, I guess, safe and not too difficult to travel to
No,
these
not
countries?
at all. I don't think so. So Namibia is quite simple. Mauritius also. I think Mozambique is also not really an issue. It just never occurred, but I always thought about it. But I'll definitely do it in the future.
Yeah. Looking back at all your experiences in South Africa,
Mm-hmm.
did you ever have any big struggles
You mean in South Africa?
in South Africa?
It's difficult to say, of course, but not any struggles that would be different than here in Austria. Whenever it would come to missing somebody, or also, I didn't struggle in school. I mean, I wouldn't say there were any struggles that I had specifically in South Africa that were any different.
So nothing really related to the country or the circumstances that you were living
Thank
there?
God I did not have any struggles.
So you noticed these differences in,
Mhm.
I guess these societal or cultural changes.
You see it. You
that
see
you
it
had
definitely.
to,
But
had to
thank
adapt.
God I've never been affected in a way that something happened to me. Of course, they affect everybody every day in their lives, but nothing ever happened to me, thank God. But I guess you could call it a struggle that you don't have your freedom there the way you do here. You know? You can't just go out and go to the Würstelstand down like 5 minutes from my place at 2:00 in the morning and just go home again. You know, it's just not possible.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't call that a struggle at all.
Yeah.
It's just a privilege that we have here. So.
Yeah. Now looking at the other side, what are some highlights or some very good memories that you like thinking back to?
An awesome memory I have is a road trip I did with my brother and my uncle. We went down the Garden Route. It's a very famous road trip road up the south coast to Jeffreys Bay. And Jeffreys Bay is, I think, in the top 3 most perfect waves on the planet. So you'll have the World Surf League actually compete there.
Oh.
And we traveled there and had the most amazing time ever. I really cherish this memory. And besides from that, I cherish every moment I was there just spending time. Even if it's just watching movies or watching series or just cooking together, making food. That is definitely highlight also the nature is insane. I mean, I'm a huge fan of Cape Town. So Table Mountain, to look at that is incredible. There's also actually, I don't know if you know, there's penguins in Cape Town, so you can look at penguins as well. And they just come there to the beach. And
do they only come in the winter?
No,
or
I
all
think
year
they're
round?
there all year round. Yeah.
Wow, isn't it? I thought they were only in like colder environments.
No, so the water is super cold.
Oh yeah.
The water is you need a wetsuit.
Okay.
It's super cold. But yeah, it's called Boulders Beach. It's a beach where I don't know why, but penguins come there and I think they lay their eggs or something.
Cool. Interesting.
And yeah, another highlight would definitely be for me, of course, the ocean. The food is incredible everywhere you go, and the people are also super friendly.
Mhm.
So it's just a beautiful thing to see once in your lifetime.
Cool. To conclude this episode, do you have some pieces of advice for people who might consider going to South Africa?
Yeah, I do. I would definitely say do your research. Wherever you go, do your research.
Yeah.
Do your own research. Don't listen to someone that's trying to tell you something they heard from whoever. Do your own research. Be open is definitely one thing. And if you're scared to do it, then you should do it anyway. So look over your fear. Tell fear to piss off. I don't know if I can say that. And do it anyway. An advice would be, if you feel safer, don't do it alone. Get somebody that wants to join you. But yeah, be open to the world. Be open to Cape Town, or be open to South Africa. It's definitely something you don't want to miss out.
Cool. What I forgot to ask earlier, specific places that you recommend people going?
Definitely check out national parks. You can do safaris there for like 4 days. Reasonable prices, I think. Beautiful experiences. Actually, I've never went by myself to a safari, but everyone in my family went. And I remember that one opportunity I had to go, I was like, nah, I would prefer just staying at home. So definitely want to do it, but everyone that I talked to said it was incredible. So I think there's a Kruger Park, it's called, it's beautiful. The Cradle of Humankind, it's just beautiful landscapes. Otherwise, I can really recommend also just the coastline, the garden route, to drive there. There's also some amazing caves further northwest of Cape Town as well. And in Cape Town, I don't know if I can give like specific recommendations. There's a great fish and chips restaurant in Hout Bay if you want to check it out. But besides that, wherever you go, you'll find definitely what you're looking for, whatever it is.
Well, thank you for your time. Thank you
Sure.
for sharing your experiences and insights.
Sure. Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, of course. Very exciting episode, I think. And yeah, thank you for watching or listening. And I will see you in the next one.